Hey, what's up everybody? 3D Theory here. This is the assembly video for the Stealth TV tray. So we're just gonna go through and build this thing out. Here we go. So you'll be needing a flathead screwdriver, one of these scrapers, thread lock. I got semi-permanent here, a little bit of 150 grit sandpaper, epoxy adhesive, this screw kit from Harbor Freight. By the way, this is from Harbor Freight, as well as this is from Harbor Freight, as well as this wood screw kit, by the way. You'd need that as well. And you'll also need a Phillips head screwdriver and little wrench. And you'll also need a P95, some gloves, and protective eye gear. And that's pretty much it. I don't know what happened. I had pressed record, but something happened. But I took off the supports off of here. It was real easy. We're just going through and cleaning up all the support material and putting aside whatever is already ready. So I could say those are ready. This is ready. These are also ready. I'm just going to put them over here. And all that's left are these leg pieces to clean out the support material in there for the dowel. Oh, by the way, here's that center bar down below. And most of these are not clean. There you go. So yeah, we're just going to have to do some work on cleaning up the legs here. And I just finished doing this one. So we'll move on to the other ones. A little bit of a tree support. All the legs are going to have that tree support on the inside because of that dowel. And I'm just going in with the flathead screwdriver, and I'm pushing it in and kind of breaking off those tree supports now for the top. All right, there you go. Some of that came out pretty easy. And let's see if there's anything left inside. Yep, there seems to be some left inside. And I'm just kind of going in and pulling out like that. And it seems to be working. All right, that about does it for the tree supports in here. I just kind of put it at an angle where I can see light shine in there and I can make out that there's no more supports in there. So I just take out that front piece once again, and sometimes the top is loosened up like that. I don't know if you guys can see it clearly, but the top part of the tree supports is loosened up. Wow, all that came out. Very nice. That was actually the easiest one. Let's see if we can make it. Let's see if we could just come up with a way of doing it so that it's pretty easy. And again, this top part comes out pretty well. I noticed with these tree supports that they end up having this top little flat part. This was for this piece here. So if you can manage to get your flathead up top there, it comes out pretty easy, like you see here. All right, that cleaned out as well. And since you guys kind of got the hang of it, I think I'm just going to do this off camera. But some of them have this support down at the bottom, and it usually comes off pretty easy. And let's see if I can just take it off with maybe some snippers, because that one came off easy. But yeah, it comes off fairly simple. And like I said, it has that little flat part there, so that really helps take it off. All right, guys, so we got all those legs finished up. Now comes the most difficult part. This is cleaned up as well, so we could put this aside. But the most difficult part is cleaning up these tree supports that are in here. As you can tell, there's a lot of them. However, as I've mentioned, if you could somehow get that top layer to come off first or loosen it up a bit, it really helps. And maybe even breaking these tree supports first as well. But I'm going to give it a try here and kind of give you the best method of cleaning those out. And they're on both sides. So I'm going to set up a soft base over here with this bubble wrap, because I am going to try to get at it with a hammer a little bit. Let's see if this method will work. So I'm kind of holding it up against me there. And I don't want to be so harsh with it where it makes this piece bend up. So I got to be very careful. Now, I was using this in the past, so I'm going to give this a try again. So I'm kind of going in at the bottom there, if you guys can see that. And I'm just pushing forward, and see how that's raising up. We want to be very careful not to do that too far down the line. And there is no break there like last time, so that's good. I'm going to go in and try to pull some of this out with my needle nose pliers here. See how that top part comes out? That's what we like to see. You got the tree supports on the bottom with that top part there. All right, this has probably been the best tool for me. I'm going to try to go up top there, but remember to be very careful with that so it doesn't bend too much. I think we're doing it, guys. Now with that, let's see if I can just use these to pull them out to the left. as you see, it's coming out. After about a few tries with this, I think I got a little better at it. How about with this small little flathead? Didn't have enough leverage there. How about this bigger flathead? Alright, got a little bit more out there. Yeah, I think this is working. So with the flathead, we can just kind of push up and pull this way. And it comes out a little bit at a time, but nonetheless it comes out. And I feel like it's the safest way that I've done it so far. I feel like this thing wants to come out all in one go. But we'll take it easy and go slow. I already kind of nicked myself earlier. I think I was using these needle nose just maybe like a minute ago. And it's kind of important that we see that top part come out and not just the tree supports, because we want to make sure the tolerance is accommodating for that lid. But we're actually making the fastest progress I've ever made with this here. There you go. I got filament flying everywhere, guys. So make sure you do this in an area where you don't want filament flying, especially if you got an open cup of coffee nearby, which I safely put mine in a different room. Alright guys, we got one side completely cleared out. That's looking totally good. Very nice. And I think you got the gist of it. So I'm going to go ahead and just do the other side off camera, and I'll see you when I finish up with that. And I did want to mention that there might be some strings here or whatnot, so I just went in like this and kind of straightened that out. And I don't know if you guys can see it, but our little speed bump is right there at the corner of my blade. Very nice. Alright guys, so I finally got this cleaned out, and it is slow going, so just keep that in mind. It's definitely a slow going process. And I think we're ready to give that lid a try. Alright, let's do this. Yep, that's in there, and that ain't going nowhere. And it's definitely locked into place. Let's see how hard this is going to be to take out. There you have it. Now, if we want to make this easier so that it's not such a hard time taking in and out, which I can see that this will get stuck over time, and it seems to have gotten stuck here, and I kind of scraped it there, but let's see if I can just turn these like that. Yeah, so one way to fix that, sand these sides down a little bit so it's not sticky. I know there's a little bit of stickiness to this. For example, with our test, we did sand it down a bit, and it did make it smoother, and this will go in just fine. As a matter of fact, we may not even need that little notch, but it's there, and because that speed bump there does its job. And as you can tell, when it's sanded down, it holds up perfectly. So I think I am going to sand this just a little bit so it's a little easier. It goes in and out just fine, but when these rub enough, it's going to be kind of hard to open up and close. But honestly, now that I'm doing it over and over again, the technique to open this is use both of your thumbs to kind of push from the front and the back, and it opens. With that being said, I think I'll leave it. I won't sand it. So I'm just going to pop this back in. Very nice. Wow. I thought I'd need to do some more work on that, but this is looking real slick. Now we're ready to put these two table pieces together. One of the most exciting parts for me is this part. So we got our dovetails, and by the way, this is going to have a little bit of a support material as well as here and here. You're going to have to take that out. Should be very easy. Likewise with this part, that part, and that part. And there will be some tree supports in each of these holes. So I'm going to go ahead and put this thing together. Let's line it up. And the goal with this is that we don't have to use any sort of glue. And it's nearly there, as you guys can see, with just pushing it with my fingers. We are almost there, guys. Let's see if I can kind of make it go in even more with this hammer. Ever so slightly. We're nearly there. So close. Just ever so slightly off. Okay. Notice how I have this bubble wrap here. And I just want to say to be very gentle when hammering that in. Everything is looking pretty sweet. There's just a little bit of a step there. So I'm going to try to work it a little bit more, because I do feel that these ends here, they're not fully in. Alright guys, so I think I got it as close as I'm gonna get it, and that's looking good to me. Very cool. There's a little bit of a gap there, but it's gonna be sealed up. Wow, this is coming together, guys. So I think the next part we can do is put these on, which go just like that, the long and the short part. So the hole is on the side of the tablet slot holder. We're just gonna have to glue this in. Alright guys, so I thought I had some epoxy adhesive on hand, but I don't. So I'm gonna make a quick run to the store and pick some up so we can finish this stealth TV tray. Alright guys, so I'm back from Harbor Freight and I got this for $3.49. That's without tax and all that, but it's great. It's an instant setting epoxy adhesive, sets in 90 seconds, holds up to 2,000 pounds per square inch. It does metal, glass, ceramic, plastic, rubber, and wood. So, I obviously got my protective gear on. This stuff says to take off the cap, mix it, and get it ready to apply. And then when you're done, to put back the cap. So it sets in 90 seconds and the item could be handled within 30 minutes. So let's get this show on the road. So here's that little tip that they're talking about. Now that we have this ready to go, I'm gonna just bring this over to the side and have it ready to place. And I'm just gonna mix it in right there. Actually, I almost forgot that we should probably make the parts that are sticking to each other not so smooth. So I'm just going to run this with 150 grit sandpaper until that shiny sheen is off of there and it exposes the material. And again, I only need to do this a little bit, not too much, and I'm happy with that amount there. I'm going to do the same for all of them just to make sure they have a really strong bond. Alright, I'm happy with that. Now I'm just going to do a tad bit on the inside here, just enough to expose some of that PETG surface there. I'm happy with that. I could already see that it's changing color. It's getting more of a matte finish rather. And finally we'll just do this last part here. That is looking good. Now once we have this set in, we do need to have some things that sit on it and weigh it down. And for that, I'm just going to use a couple of filament boxes. And they do have filament inside, just to just to clarify. But let's get this epoxy cap off of here. I'm glad I wore gloves. And we're just going to get this mixed up here. All right. And I'm just going in with a piece of filament, PETG. You could use wood, but I had some extra filament laying around, little dowels, just using that to spread it around. And time to get this in place. Alright, that's set in place. I'm going to do the same for this side. I might have put too much on this side here. Let's see if it leaks through. I think that's fine. Likewise, let's do the same for this. Alright, now this is ready to go. Very nice. And last but not least, I'm going to squeeze some in here. Okay, and as you can see, I'm just kind of mixing these up. Alright, I think this is ready to go. I'm really glad I made these connecting points so I know exactly where to put it. Now I got some of that fresh filament. Just gonna pop it on. Let's see if I could just put it like that. There you have it. Very nice. So I'm gonna let this set for a little bit, and once it's done, we'll come back and continue the rest. Oh, and by the way, the cap for it's right there. And there's a little notched end here, and there's a little slit for that notched end, and you just cover it like that. There you go. Very nice. Alright guys, so I just happened to notice that we didn't clean off some of these supports, so we're going to do that now. And also, I'm missing one of these legs, so there should be one more of these. So I'm printing that out on the printer behind us on printer number 2, and in the meantime, we can kind of put the rest of it together. So I'm going to first clean off these supports. So you see there's this part for the center part to fit in, and we have another one here. Or was it this one? It was actually this one. So it is kind of hard to see in the beginning, so just make sure you choose the right one. And there you go, came right out. Very nice. And likewise, we have this part for the hexagonal bar. Very nice. And this one as well. Boy, this one is almost non-existent, or it doesn't look visible, but it's there. Alright, there you have it. So these are officially ready to be put together. Let's give the hexagonal bar a try. Oh yeah, that fits perfectly, and it comes in and out as needed. If we need to, we can always do an epoxy on this as well, epoxy adhesive, so it sticks really well. But we'll see if we need to do that a little later. In the meantime, we're going to put together our legs using these dowels. And as you remember, I put a little marker there for where each dowel stops. Now there's a longer side and a shorter side, and the longer side is actually going to be pointing up and the shorter side is down. So we're going to actually grab the top bar, and that's the depth that's going to go into the top bar. And like we did before, we're going to gently use a hammer to get this dowel in, and I'm going to know it's fully in once it reaches that line. Alright, we just about reached it, as you can tell there. I feel like it's reached it all the way through. And now, I know that these legs with the hole for the hexagonal bar require the hole down here. So, I'm just going to go ahead and stick that through now. And likewise, we're just going to stick it in and push it through. Wow, that actually worked really well. We have a little bit of a gap, so I'm going to try to use a hammer up top here to kind of close in that hole. So not only did I use the hammer, but I kind of banged this part up against the floor like that, and it seems like that's as far as it's wanting to go, and I'd say that leg is done. Alright guys, so likewise we're going to do the same with the other legs. However, we're going to do the other side now that doesn't have the hexagonal hole and that center bar hole there. We're just going to grab another dowel that we've 3D printed. And remember, the long side goes up. Now we're just going to again hit it until we reach that line there. Alright, I'm going to stick that through. Oh yeah, that's looking great. On the back you can't even tell that it's two pieces. And we can move on to the other parts. As you can tell, this goes here. I can't wait to put all this stuff together. It's going to be so much fun. And this hexagonal bar goes right here. We're nearly there, guys. We've got all of our 4 legs ready to go, and I'm ready to assemble this thing. We may have to do some epoxy adhesive to some other parts, but this heat and that time gave this a lot of time to really bond. So these bottom 4 parts are stuck on there very nicely. So first things first is we're going to grab this piece here and figure out which side this goes on. So you can tell because there's a straight side and a curved side, and likewise you can see over here there's a straight side and a curved side. So we just want to match that up. Very cool. Let me get the other side here. Got to move some of this stuff. Very cool. We got that in, and we may have to do epoxy to this. We'll see. And we got that part in. Okay, yeah, this is kind of wobbly, so I may have to do epoxy there. And before I stick any of this together with epoxy, I do want to just put it together and see where we're at with it all. I'm assuming it would be wise to put all the screws in and get everything sorted out that way. Alright guys, so we got this 2-part epoxy again. I'm just going to start mixing it in here. I think that is more than enough. Alright, and I got a couple of mixing things here. I'm going to use this one of these screws from the previous batch. There you go. And this seems really loose, so I do want to get epoxy on here. So let's get that nice and ready. Alright, that's plenty there. And I'm just going to stick that in. Okay, that's looking good. I do want to add some epoxy to this right here to make sure it's securely in there. So let me just add a little bit here. I always say add a little bit. It turns out to be a lot more than a little bit. And let's give that a nice mix. And this stuff sets uber fast. So let me dip this side in. Let me dip this side in and pop that in there. Very nice. Now I feel comfortable that both of these have epoxy in them and they're going to be holding up very well. And by the way, I used these screws from Harbor Freight as the wood screws, and I used this one here. It's number 8 by 3.4 L, just so you guys know. I really like the gold accent on the black, by the way. And for the machine screws, I bought this from Harbor Freight a while back, and I just used 4 of these long number 10 24 by 2 this here. Alright, so I'm just going to stick these on either side like that, and then I am going to grab one of these screws and check it out. I show you what kind of screws these are and where I get it from. This is just kind of an update video. And then you know, obviously another screw, another washer, and these washers are 3D printed, so it comes with the file. We'll just stick that there, that one on this side, and pop that through. So we got this thread lock over here. We got it from Harbor Freight. And we just want to be careful with all this stuff. Always use protection, such as the gloves, the goggles, P95s. And I'm going to grab a nut here and just put a little bit of this thread lock on that screw, just ever so slightly. If you guys see how little I put, let me see if I can bring the camera. All right guys, so I put just ever so slight dab on there. Like it's so little that I don't even think it will kind of spill off to the other side. I'm gonna tighten that up. All right, so I'm just gonna go ahead and tighten this up here. Let me first do both sides before I tighten it up actually, because I'm gonna need to tighten up this side anyway. I don't wanna flip it twice. Again, I'm just gonna put a little bit of that thread lock, just very little. All right, just grab another nut there, and I'm just gonna pop that on. Now I'm just gonna hold that nut there and rotate this Phillips head until it's semi-tight, but I can still move it. Very cool. Likewise, I'm gonna do the same for the other side. All right, that's feeling nice and tight for me. And I'm just gonna rotate this so that this hexagonal bar is facing me so I can attach the tabletop. And again, I'm just gonna put the slot facing me, just like that. And because I've updated the backs of these legs, we're going to be able to use the hexagonal washer. Before we weren't going to be able to. So I'm just going to lift up the outside leg, put the screw in the opposite way so the Phillips head is on this side, and it should sink in. Yep, it's sunk in, and I could show you. As you can see there, the Phillips head is sunk in more or less, and it enables it to do what it needs to do. Hopefully that's enough sinking in. We'll find out. And then we're going to put the washer there and just pop it in here. Very cool. Now we're going to go ahead and do the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and grab one of these once again. Also the washer. Pop that through. Put the washer on there. Alright, so that worked. All we're going to have to do now is put a little bit of thread lock on there. And once again, I put very little. Just going to grab a nut here and put it on. And once it's on there, grab my Phillips head screwdriver and just rotate it tight. Ooh, wow, I didn't notice that. It actually sinks in all the way, the Phillips head. You know, when I 3D modeled it, I made it so the whole head sinks in, but when you just put it in by hand, it doesn't. But as you screw it in, the whole Phillips head gets bolted in. As you can see there, it's not sticking out one bit. Very nice. All right, likewise, I'm going to do the same for this side. And last but not least, we got that center bar here. Someone had mentioned doing heat sinks, and that's a great idea. I would like to do that at a certain point, but for now we're just using those wood screws. So that's nice and tight in there. All right, just give it one last little turn. So this is ready to go. I do want to wait a little bit before I lift it up and open it. The thread lock says to wait about 2 hours, cures to full strength in 24 hours. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Very happy with that. So here's that Stealth TV tray, and I'm just gonna open it up. It's a little tight as I open it now, but hey, that's all good. And I just rotate this part open. There is the completed Stealth TV tray. This is gonna be up on my Maker World for free download. And you could print and build along for practicing on prototype building. But remember, this isn't meant to be used as an actual table in this form. So this is just kind of a model for you to put together and have fun and look at, kind of like a model car, like a hobbyist would build a model car. But nonetheless, this is complete. It's got the thread lock on there. It can close and open. I really like this thing. It's super cool. But nonetheless, guys, that about wraps it up for today's video. Thank you so much for joining me. Until next time, peace, love, and joy.